Are we good with the sound? Are we all right? All right. Camera people, are you ready? Okay. Welcome to the Electoral Commission. My name is Nomsa Masuku. I'm one of the 5 commissioners of the Electoral Commission. Allow me to introduce the people that are sitting around me. On my right-hand side is the chairperson of the Electoral Commission. He's Mr. Msutu Miepa. On his right is the vice chairperson of the Electoral Commission, Ms. Janet Love. On her right is Commissioner Pillay, who is the judge. On my left is Commissioner Glenn Mashinini. And on the right side of the judge is the Electoral Commission's official spokesperson, Ms. Kate Barbella. Welcome to Election House. We have invited you here today as we mark another milestone on the election timetable. We've come to a very significant point in terms of the candidate nomination process. And the purpose of this gathering today is for us to give you the outcomes of that process. I'm going to invite the chairperson of the Electoral Commission to read the statement. And as usual, after the statement has been read and we've dealt with question and answers, we'll distribute the statement to you. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Masuku, and good afternoon to yourselves in the media. The Electoral Commission confirms that it has received 82 objections in relation to candidates nominated by 21 political parties. The objection process is one among the various milestones in the process of candidate nomination, which closed at 1700 hours on 8 March 2024. In the intervening period, the Commission has validated the details of the nominated candidates, advised nominating parties and independent candidates of instances where they nominated candidates who also appeared on the list of another party or who were nominated as independent candidates. The process of candidate nomination was to a large extent driven by political parties through the online candidate nomination system. This means that party administrators were responsible for capturing party candidates, generating payment documents, uploading supporting documents, and finally submitting those lists to the Commission. Throughout the nomination process, parties had total autonomy on their lists until they were finally submitted. Only 7 political parties submitted their nomination documents manually, with 79 doing so through the online candidate nomination system. Objections to candidates follow a legally prescribed scheme in terms of both the Electoral Act and the Constitution. Section 30, subsection 1, and Section 31E of the Electoral Act provide the grounds on which an objection may be raised. These are: 1, where a candidate did not sign the prescribed acceptance of nomination; 2, where there is no prescribed undertaking signed by a candidate that they are bound by the Code of Conduct; and 3, where a candidate is not qualified to stand in the election. Section 47 and Section 106 of the Constitution set out the eligibility criteria and qualification for the National Assembly and provincial legislatures, respectively. They provide that every citizen who is qualified to vote for the National Assembly and/or the provincial legislature is eligible to stand for election, except if 1, anyone who has been declared to be of unsound mind by a court of the Republic is in the list, or 2, any person who is said to be an unrehabilitated insolvent or thirdly, any person who was convicted of an offense and sentenced to more than 12 months imprisonment without the option of a fine. This disqualification ends 5 years after the sentence has been completed. This ground of disqualification does not extend to persons who are yet to be sentenced and those, while sentenced, are yet to exhaust their appeal processes in law. Of the 82 objections received, 74 were submitted on time. A total of 8 objections were submitted after the cutoff time. Despite many of the objections not meeting the prescribed format of submission, the Commission, in keeping with its obligation to ensure free and fair elections, considered whether substantively the objections met the criteria in the Constitution and the law. Substantively, these statistics on objections reveal the following trends. 1, there were no objections received claiming that candidates were unrehabilitated insolvents. 2, there were no objections received with allegations that one or more candidates on the list had been declared to be of unsound mind by a court of the Republic. And thirdly, a total of 31 objections implicating 8 candidates alleged that candidates were not qualified to stand owing to criminal records and or convictions. The Commission dismissed objections in relation to 7 candidates and sustained 1 objection. The Commission could only act within the confines of the law and the Constitution. This Commission has written to the objectors, candidates, and the nominating parties to advise them of its determinations as required. Any objector, party, or candidate aggrieved by the decision of the Commission may appeal this decision with the Electoral Court by the 2nd of April 2024. The Electoral Court has up to the 9th of April to determine these appeals. The process of candidate nomination will culminate in the Commission releasing the lists of political parties and candidates that will appear on the various ballot papers, and these lists will be published, these lists will be published on the 10th of April. A novel feature in the 2024 national and provincial elections is that independent candidates will contest for seats in the National Assembly and provincial legislatures. 6 independent candidates will contest for seats in the National Assembly, and 6 will contest the provincial legislature elections. We once again remind voters that they may only vote at a voting station in which they are registered. Voters who will unavoidably be away from their voting districts on election day may give notice of their intention to vote at another identified voting station by 17 May 2024. The Electoral Code of Conduct has been in effect since February 23, when proclamation of the elections was concluded. On the 4th of April 2024, the Commission will convene all contestants to a special ceremony where they will publicly pledge to adhere to the Code of Conduct, as well as to get their members and supporters to act in a manner that is consistent with the Code of Conduct. We thank you very much for being here with us this afternoon. I trust that the statement is very clear, that there are not many questions indeed, but we end our statement there.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. At this point in time, I'm going to invite members of the media to pose questions, be they of clarity or any other type. Please introduce yourself and tell us the house that you're from. Yes, please. There's one, there's two. SABC there.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much. Slinda Lomasigane from ENCA. I'd like to ask whether or not candidates who appeared on more than one list have decided where they're going to fall. And the protest outside, an issue with Arise South Africa that says that they appeared on the list to be able to contest elections and now they don't appear and they haven't heard back from the IEC. Just your comments there. Thank you.
SABC.
Thank you so much. It's Natasha Perry here from SABC News. Ndate Mosotho, you mentioned here that a total of 31 objections implicating 8 candidates alleged that candidates were not qualified owing to criminal records or convictions. I don't know if I'm pushing my luck here, but can you please have the names of, those people, perhaps? And then also, just maybe as a final number, how many parties are now contesting the elections? Because remember the last time you released a statement, it was around 115 and then 16 independent candidates. That number has now gone down. Can we just have that number? Also, just as a follow-up to Slee's question, Mpho Dagada, the president of Arise South Africa, has alleged that you took him off the list. So after that statement came out, when we went to the website, his name was there, And I further reached out to all game changers, that's the party Duduzane Zuma, and the same thing, they had an issue, but they then were taken into the confidence by the IEC to say that actually their name's on the list. So was there a technical issue or technical problems with the provisional list that were provided on the IEC's website? Also with that process, how is that process of the objection process and the inspection process over the 2 days? Any challenges from political parties also? Thank you.
I'm going to take the third question, please, sir.
Junior Kumalo from Newsroom Africa. My colleague did not want to push her luck. I'm definitely going to push my luck. We saw the former President Jacob Zuma appearing first on the Umkhonto weSizwe's party list. We just wanted to get clarity on whether he is one of these 8 people that were objected against from standing based on prior criminal records or criminal conviction. Also, we just wanted to get clarity on that section 47 of the Constitution. Does it prevent him from being on the ballot, or does it only prevent him from standing for public office? Because it seems to be that's where the question that MK is arguing, that part of the Constitution should not prevent him from being on the ballot, but it should prevent him only from standing for public office. And also there's this question that he has already had 2 terms. They are also arguing that this only kicks in once, let's say, he is nominated. But also on the Code of Conduct, you indicated that the Code of Conduct kicked in as soon as the president proclaimed the elections. But we've heard political parties such as Umkhonto weSizwe saying that the elections won't go ahead if they are not on the ballot. Has there been any action taken, or who has to approach the Electoral Court for that party to be held to that standard that is set by the Code of Conduct? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna pause there. I will take another a group of questions. Let me start with you, Chair.
Okay, let me start with Junior, because you're right at the end. I think there's nothing to push and see if there's luck or not. These things are things we do officially, and we communicate them to those that have objected and the parties that have nominated them. In the case of former President Zuma, yes, we did receive an objection, which has been upheld. The party that nominated him has been informed, and so the objectors are being informed. The other names of persons that we, were objected to, that information really we can make available. We've been dealing with too many things. I don't have the individual ones. If my colleagues can remember, by all means, I'll let them help you with that. You asked the question about the ballot and President Zuma being on the ballot. We will, as the Commission, be dealing with issues concerning the ballot very shortly, and we will deal with those questions very fully. Today, we would like to focus on the process of candidate nomination and the issues connected thereto. I have indicated that the effect of the objections brought against the former president we've dealt with, and you have that answer. The code of conduct, yes, it has taken effect from when the elections were proclaimed. We have not, at this stage, up to now, taken, or there has not been a matter that has been taken to the Electoral Court. But that does not mean we have not been engaging with parties and persons. It is work we do every day. When we have opportunities in the media, we raise those issues, we remind people of their obligations. But today, when we deal with issues where candidates are now confirmed, we remind everyone, candidates, parties, and their supporters, that they are indeed bound by that code. It may well be that when someone then violates, we will, or someone may take them to court. You also asked the question, who would take such a person to the Electoral Court? Anyone. And it's a court process. You don't make allegations you cannot substantiate. So when you make allegations, you do as you would do normally with a court, provide the evidence that you have against such a person. Natasha, I'm sure I've answered the question in relation to 8. I don't have them, but if my colleagues have, they will help. The allegation that we have removed someone from the list sounds like we really have been personal and intentional. No, we don't do that, and we haven't done it. What we have done is exercise the provisions of the law without fear, without favor, and without prejudice. Anyone who has been removed from a list, we will have reasons why we have done so. We will have relied on a provision of the Act or the Constitution, and we accept that we have a fundamental responsibility in exercising that role very carefully, which we believe we have done. Technical problems with provisional lists. Yes, we have been informed that on the first day of the lists being published in the morning, there was a list, or there were lists published that did not take into account a provision of Schedule 1, capital A, Item 3. That provision relates to the peremptory requirement of any party that is contesting the elections of the National Assembly to provide a list, what we call a national-to-national list, together with at least one regional list. One regional list. And we do have parties that regrettably have not met that peremptory requirement. That was taken off. It wasn't taken off because of the system's error. And I want to be very frank and clear. The parties concerned did not comply. It wasn't because the system did not publish them or they simply did not comply with that provision, and we have communicated that to those parties. I think I've dealt with your issues. And then, Slindelo, you were asking questions about candidates on more than one list. Those candidates are not for us to decide whether they stay here or they stay there or they are removed on both or one or whatever. We are required to inform parties that nominated them that they are standing on more than one list. That's all we do. Parties will then decide what they want to do with those situations. If they want to replace them from their lists, it's a call they make and not the commission. I trust I captured your question. I have dealt with the issue of a party that says it appeared and it no longer appears. For my candidate, for my colleagues, have I missed any question? Have I missed your question?
Let me have the mic back, Chair. I believe you have it. I believe at the moment you've answered everything properly. If there are follow-ups, do you mind if I take fresh hands and then we'll come back and sweep for follow-up questions? Let's do that. I saw. Yes, please. There's another one over there. If she can please go first. There's someone whose hand I can see, but whose face I can't see. So if you can go 1, go 2, and go 3. Does that sound okay? Cool. Sir?
So Lerato Mutila from the Daily Maverick. So there have been rumors circulating that some parties forged signatures to get onto the list. Whether this is true or not, could you please tell us what steps are taken by the IEC to vet signatures and the validity of signatures? Also, another thing is that the chief electoral officer has the power to lodge their own objections. It would be good to know if this was done or not, and if so, when and in what circumstances. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Masuku. It's Ferial Hafaji from the Daily Maverick here. May I please inquire if the commissioners were unanimous in upholding the one objection? Secondly, will additional protection be provided to Commissioner Pillay? Because when she previously issued a warrant of arrest against the former president, she came under some threat. Could you also explain to us, just step by step, what happens now? Does it go to the electoral court? And when does that decision have to be made so that you meet your deadlines? And then a quick final one. The Mayor Kabelo Gwamanda is on the list. He seems to be a paid public servant and therefore not allowed, his candidature is not allowed on the list. I wonder if that's a correct reading of the law. Thank you.
Sorry. That's Amanda. Amanda Koza from News 24. I just want to know if the Commission is again concerned about utterances being made by the former president. He again yesterday made suggestions that the elections could be rigged or that special votes could be used to rig the elections. Are you concerned by these constant aspersions that are being made about the IEC? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to start with you, Chairperson. If you want to allocate further to other commissioners, please feel free to do so.
Ferial, you've asked a very important question, and I think Commissioner Love will deal with some aspects of, because the one question you asked made me think of other things that we have done, which we really haven't spoken about, and I think it's important to speak about. You ask if we had, we were unanimous. We were unanimous. You see, these are not matters we deal with that are personal. There's a provision of the law against which we must measure an objection, against which we must measure an objection. And it's straightforward. It's whether the person qualifies or does not qualify. It has nothing to do with a lot more than that. But what you did, and I didn't deal with, was the fact relating to Judge Pillay, who is a member of the Commission. In the matter affecting the former president, the Judge Pillay recused. She recused. And I think it's fundamental because this process is a process that has to be safeguarded and Judge Pillay recused not because we said so, because she understood how these matters relate and their weightiness on the work we were undertaking. The rest of the questions you have, I'm going to ask Commissioner Love to deal with you on. Mayor Gwamanda. Mayor Gwamanda is not barred from contesting. One of the things we do when an election like this comes, we speak to the minister responsible for public service. The law provides that they may provide for circumstances under which public servants intending to contest an election may do so. And once they are elected, they must then choose whether they proceed with their elected office or their other side. So that arrangement, it's not a problem. I'm almost certain the mayor would not be the only one, but there's nothing irregular about it. There was a question asked about vetting signatures. The signatures are submitted have been submitted. We have confirmed that the persons that have been submitted are indeed registered voters. In other words, those persons that qualify to submit such signatures. Anyone who wants to object to this can do so. We haven't. Yeah. Commissioner Love will help me deal with that. And then I think the last one, the CEO's power to lodge objections. I think Lerato Motila asked. The CEO has the power. I think it has not been necessary for him to do so because we have not received an objection from him. But he is entitled to do so if he wanted to do so. The process is now gone. He is bound by the same rules that bind everyone that's submitting objections for us to consider. Commissioner Love, I'm sure there are questions I did not answer. Help me or colleagues will help as well.
Over to you, Commissioner Love.
Thanks very much. A couple of things. First of all, with regard to the process going forward in terms of the objections, any person who is an objector or the party about whose candidates that person is objecting will receive the decision of the Commission and can then approach the Electoral Court. It's not for the Electoral Court automatically to review or in any manner or shape to take on everything, but that approach can be made. And the Electoral Court has got a time frame within which, and I think that's in our statement, by the 9th of April in order to resolve those decisions so that we can proceed with the ballot printing process. I think the second thing is that in relation to the issue of unanimity and the recusal, the important thing I think about the recusal of the judge, and she was very clear about this, is that the basis of the objection was dealing with a sentence that was passed in relation to Mr. Zuma, and she was at the time a member of the Constitutional Court. And so it's clearly for that reason that she believed that it was important to have that recusal, and we appreciated that process. But for the rest, as the chair has indicated, we act as a collective. In terms of the utterances that have been reported in the media in relation to, from members of the MK party, as well as we are told from Mr. Zuma, we are very concerned. As the chairperson has indicated, we have been engaging, and we do believe that it's important for all role players in our country to recognize that elections are a collective responsibility, and the code of conduct is there to ensure that that kind of collective responsibility is owned by all, and in particular is owned by those people and those political organizations that intend to contest. And the last thing was just in relation to the signatures. One of the requirements for the submission of candidates was also for political parties to submit the lists, not just the names and the ID numbers, but the actual list with the signatures of those registered voters who supported the candidature of that political party, if it's an unrepresented party or that independent candidate. And of course, once those documents were uploaded, it was possible for the Commission to verify the signatures in relation to other documentation that the Commission has, given that they are registered voters. So there has been a process of that kind of careful review to the extent that the administration thought was necessary. I think that I've covered the other aspects. Thanks, Dr. Masuku.
Okay. Commissioners, before I take follow-up questions, could you please just admit questions that are coming from online? One is from Tidi Madia from Eyewitness News. It reads as follows: the IEC's published candidate list show that parties eligible for the national ballot have significantly reduced. How did the IEC get there? The second one, parties that have been left out of the system due to technicalities or administrative errors on their part, do they still have an opportunity to fix the issues and be included? This includes those who might have not submitted names for the third ballot paper. I believe we've covered that, but I think the question seems to indicate that we need to say a little bit more about it. The third and final question from online is, can the IEC confirm if there are requests for an audit of signatures and if such a request has also come from Limpopo? Commissioners, there you are.
Yeah, I can tell you that there's a question that Commissioner Love is going to answer that I missed as well. But let me deal with the ones that I from TD, I think it was. A confirmation from Limpopo, yes, we have received. We have received that. In the manner that we received it, it was styled as an objection in terms of Section 30. It wasn't. Section 30 doesn't provide for us to deal with that kind of objection. So in that respect, yes, we have received and we have dealt with it. Fixing of issues, at this point, no. What we are dealing with is finalizing the list of candidates. We're not dealing with replacements, with, it's confirmation of persons that qualify and persons that don't qualify. In the event that persons qualify, they stay on the list. In the event that such persons don't qualify to be removed, they are removed and they will not return on the list. The issue I missed was how we managed to reduce the list, and I could.
Yeah, it's very clear to me. Shall I read it again?
Yes.
Sure. So the essence of let me not paraphrase. Paraphrasing can be dangerous, so let me not do that. The question reads, the IEC's published candidate lists show that the parties eligible for the national ballot have significantly reduced. Okay? And then it says, how did the IEC get there? What did he do?
The IEC does nothing to manage the length of a ballot.
Yeah.
It applies the law. Parties either comply or don't comply with the law, and it's the only way that they are either removed or confirmed to be on the list. I think that's the long and short of it. We didn't manage anything. We got to where we are because the law is the law is the law.
Okay. It's a process of natural selection.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, any follow-up questions? I'm just doing one last sweep across the room. I don't want to keep you longer than necessary. Any takers? Yes, please, Natasha. Yes, please, Ferial. I've got two. There are people that I can't see, but I think Kate can see them. Kate, please help me. There's nothing else.
Mr. Mayor, I might have missed it, but you mentioned here that a number of parties did not comply. How many parties didn't comply? And then just back to the issue of just if you can just give us a rough estimate of how many political parties will be in the race for these elections. Thank you. And independents, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Should the former president go to the electoral court and that court agree with the IEC and then the former president wants to take it to a different court to appeal, does the ballot printing continue while that appeal process is ongoing? Thank you.
Commissioners, over to you, Chair.
Yes. Let me start with the last question. Because it's difficult, but the answer is easy, Ferrell. The issue with the former president's nomination does not affect the continued presence of the party that nominated him. You know, the party is not disqualified. It's just a candidate in the party that is. Yes, in terms of court processes, that's why on Monday, is it the second? Tuesday, all parties and candidates that may be aggrieved by the decisions the Commission has taken today are required or have the opportunity to approach the Electoral Court. They have until the 2nd of April. And once the court has received those, the court will consider the matters and make its decisions known, or it is expected in terms of the election timetable, that the court will decide on all such matters by the 9th of April. And we move from there. So what we have done today, we have kicked a process. It has a review appeal processes that are available to those that are aggrieved by the decisions. And once those processes have been determined, the ballot paper and other things will continue. Natasha, I think we have put on the statement the numbers that you require. And I think, yeah, that answers the questions. There's one more. Commissioner Love says I didn't answer.
Commissioner Love, go for it.
The parties, the number of parties that were not compliant, the issue is that we deal with objections as commissioned. The administration deals with issues of non-compliance of various kinds, possibly that the necessary lists were not uploaded, possibly that the necessary signatures were not provided, possibly that the documents supporting the signatures, possibly that the necessary payments were not provided. So in other words, the preemptory requirements of the Act were not complied with. That would happen before the Section 30 objections, and I'm sure that at a stage, at a slightly later stage, the administration will be able to give those kinds of reports. I think that the important thing just to recognize is, to the extent possible, that the legislation, the law, allows us to be inclusive. I think that the Commission has sought to do that. But of course, we can't make rules for one party that don't apply to all. So I think that's the important thing. Thanks.
Commissioners, thank you very much. I do not see Commissioners, Mashinini. Thank you. I don't see any further hands. From the chair, not as in the chair of the Electoral Commission, but for the chair of this gathering, I want just to say to members of the media that I think what we would ask is that when those rumors feed through the media, that perhaps what is good to do is to push people to provide evidence so that we don't perpetuate rumors and keep repeating them until they become a self-fulfilling reality. I think that is not particularly helpful to any of us. And then from the perspective of the Electoral Commission, we thank you for coming through. It is indeed the eve of a long weekend. We wish you